Here's more wrestling news for September 18th, 2022, and we're starting this afternoon with WWE, and at SummerSlam 2022, Brock Lesnar came up short in his efforts to dethrone Roman Reigns in the most recent appearance by the Beast Incarnate. Lesnar and Reigns first began their feud back in 2015, so it's safe to say that the Tribal Chief knows all about working with the former world champion. Speaking on the Impulsive podcast, Reigns spoke about arguably his greatest rival and how difficult it is to work with the Beast. Brock Lesnar, man, he picks you up and throws you on your head. There's nothing nice about that. It's very tough to work with a human being like that. Some call him like the alpha male of our species, and it's true. He really is what he is. I mean, he's a great businessman, but at the same time, he has a legitimate background of MMA that when you get in the ring, there has to be some kind of protection of that legitimacy. We can't just put him in there with anybody, but at the same time, when you get in there with them, you kind of understand it's going to be a bit of a ride, but there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on it, so that always makes it better. There's no word yet on when Lesnar will be back or if he will continue being the fun-loving cowboy fans have enjoyed seeing from him over the past year. All we know is that Lesnar is still on WWE's roster and will be back eventually, and whoever works with him next will be feeling pretty sore after the Beast's next match. In May, Julia Hart turned her back on the Varsity Blondes and joined the ranks of the House of Black. Since then, the Blondes, consisting of Brian Pillman and Griff Garrison, have had just 5 matches on AEW programming, with mixed results, and now the group could be done for good. That's if Pillman's comments are to be believed, as when speaking on the Café de Renee podcast, the second-generation wrestler spoke about the team in the past tense. Pillman said how the Blondes could have gotten over, adding that, "I don't think that the Varsity Blondes was the fullest creative extension of myself." Pillman added that people will look back on the group fondly, but added that he's not sure what's next for his career. From the way Pillman is talking, it seems like his days teaming with Griff Garrison are over, so we'll have to see what everyone involved does next. In July, Triple H was appointed WWE's head of creative, which came as a delight to fans who weren't exactly thrilled with Vince McMahon's ideas. One of McMahon's more infamous decisions was bringing Diamond Dallas Page into the WWF in 2001 and making him the stalker of The Undertaker's then-wife Sarah. DDP had been one of WCW's most popular stars and had been calling himself the People's Champion long before The Rock, so the decision for him to be a pervert didn't go down well. On his latest episode of DDP's Snake Pit, Page discussed WWE booking and what he expects to see under the Triple H era. "I don't think Triple H will be booking for the internet. I can't imagine that, even though the internet has a pretty sound voice right now. I think he's going to book good storylines. That's what I believe from a wrestler's point of view." While fans can be very vocal on social media, they represent only a part of the total WWE universe, and Triple H will be booking for the masses, at least as far as Diamond Dallas Page is concerned. One name who could benefit from the game's regime is his old workout buddy Sheamus, who made his WWE debut in 2009 and by the end of the year was the WWE champion. Now, 13 years later, Sheamus is one of WWE's longest-tenured superstars and has earned the respect of fans as a veteran of the locker room. With that said, Sheamus is now 44, but while speaking to Inside the Ropes, said he has no plans to ease up soon. "As long as people get excited to see the Celtic Warrior go out there, I'll just keep going as long as possible. I feel like I've got at least another 8 years in me." Fans are certainly still excited for Sheamus, as he earned a standing ovation for his match against Gunther at WWE Clash at the Castle, a 5-star bout as rated by Dave Meltzer. The Intercontinental Championship is the last title Sheamus needs to become a Grand Slam champion in WWE, and although the Cardiff show wasn't his night, he'll have another opportunity eventually, especially as he has no plans on retiring yet. In 2020, WWE debuted their new concept to lure viewers in, a bare-knuckle shoot-fight-esque segment called Raw Underground. Inspired by the film Fight Club, the setting for Raw Underground included dancing women, which, while common during the Attitude Era, was strange to see on WWE's PG product. This week, Omos spoke to Say Less with Kaz, Loki, and Rousey, and when discussing Raw Underground, revealed how exactly WWE found these women. "I first thought they were just actors, but they were like, no, these are literally just strippers. And I'm like, whoa. Raw Underground was one of Omos's first on-screen roles for WWE, as he served as the bodyguard for segment host Shane McMahon before the concept was ultimately nixed. During the Attitude Era, WWE would hire local strippers to perform on-screen as the Godfather's hoes, and even all these years later, the promotion still had a role for these exotic dancers. After CM Punk's comments at All Out and the fight that broke out, reports came out that the locker room had turned on the best in the world. It was even said that many within AEW felt Punk should be fired and that he's too much hassle for his worth, but not everyone is anti-Punk. Sitting down with Wrestling Inc., AEW's Anthony Henry, who has appeared mostly on Dark, spoke about the two-time former AEW World Champion, saying, "I've talked to Punk a couple of times. He was very nice to me. Actually, when I came in, he introduced himself to me, which, very nice. That's a rare thing that usually doesn't happen, but he just walked up to me like, 'Hi, I'm Phil.'" Henry went on to note that he hasn't had any real in-depth conversations with Punk thus far, but notes that he's always seemed like a cool guy to him. It'll be Tony Khan's decision as to whether CM Punk remains a part of the AEW locker room, with the investigation said to be nowhere near finished. It'll be some time before the AEW president needs to make what'll no doubt be a tough call. When this week's Smackdown went off the air, Ronda Rousey had an in-ring brawl with Natalya and was able to get the better of the Heart Dungeon graduate. Rousey was all business when dealing with Natalya, but the former Raw and SmackDown Women's Champion showed a softer side after the collision. Greeting those in the crowd afterward, Rousey gave a shout-out to her mom, who was sat ringside for the show in Anaheim. Even though she's kind of a heel at the moment, it's nice to see that Rousey had time for her mother, who will no doubt be on her side when she challenges SmackDown Women's Champion Liv Morgan at Extreme Rules. When Mickie James was released from WWE, her departure became a PR nightmare for the company, with her personal effects being sent in a trash bag. This ultimately led to WWE parting ways with company veteran Mark Carrano, but this was far from a one-off incident. Speaking on Interview with James, though we should mention not Mickie James, fellow WWE alum Maria Kanellis spoke about her 2010 departure from WWE and also receiving a trash bag of items. "I received my first garbage bag underneath John Laurinaitis. This situation has been going on for a bit, and they really should hire outside HR departments to come in and do some audits on what's going on within the company. Hire therapists if people need mental help. I just think they need to take a look within and start dealing with some of these real-life adult problems." Laurinaitis is unlikely to be sending anyone in WWE anything, trash bag or not, as he was let go by the company this year for his reported role in the alleged Vince McMahon scandal. While Maria would return to WWE in 2017, her second run with the company didn't go much better, so it may be a long time before we see her appearing on Raw or SmackDown. During her first run in WWE, Maria often played something of a ditz who was easily manipulated by heels to their own ends. The ditzy character probably wouldn't fly these days, but as Maria explained on the podcast, she had fun with the role. Not only that, but the character also helped shield her from some of the not-so-fun aspects of being a WWE diva at the time. As she explained, "I liked playing my character pretty much full-time. At that time, there was a lot of sexism, there were a lot of things that were kind of flying around, and if I was the dumb girl, then people kind of left me alone, and for me, it was almost like some shield against everyone else, and they're crazy." Returning to WWE in 2017, Maria had dropped the character completely, instead returning with her husband Mike Kanellis Bennett as an impressive power couple. Maria's days as a ditzy diva are long behind her, but unlike others, the former 24/7 champion has no problem with the character she played. On the post-Clash at the Castle episode of Raw, Braun Strowman returned to WWE in what was a huge score for the company and a huge loss for Control Your Narrative. Without Strowman, it's been announced that CYN won't be going on tour as previously announced, and the future of the company looks pretty bleak. Despite this, EC3, CYN's co-founder, is keeping positive and isn't too mad for Strowman for taking WWE's offer. "Anything I would have put paper and signed, like, we're both smart, we're both friends, and we're both businessmen that in paper would say, if so-and-so calls and is offering this, understand I would have to take it. I would have the exact same thing in mind too, because you never know. I'll take full responsibility. I allowed outside forces to throw these things at us that weren't ready because I'm a swinging and I'm like, I can do this. And with the tour, I figured it out. I could do it. We're going to win, but you know, I laid it on that, so that goes away. but also I knew there was no way this would work without funding or a sponsor or things like that. So far, Strowman has been feuding with Alpha Academy and will have his first singles match next week against Otis, and the Monster Among Men's days of competing in front of 30 people or so at a bar are now behind him. For the past few months, there's been a lot of talk about Bray Wyatt and whether he could return to WWE in this new post-Vince McMahon era. It's been reported that Wyatt has been in talks with WWE, and something truly bizarre during this week's Smackdown has had fans talking. During a commercial break, WWE seemingly teased Wyatt's return with a bizarre rendition of White Rabbit being blared to the fans live in attendance, who held their phone lights up like Bray's fireflies. Not only that, but the arena then went red, another Wyatt trope, as arenas around the world will fill with an eerie reddish glow during his 10 years as a Fiend. Now, typically, WWE does nothing like this during commercial breaks, and no explanation has been given as to why this bizarre situation played out. Bray hasn't competed for any promotion since leaving WWE, making his WrestleMania 37 loss his most recent bout, but we'll have to see what's next after this bizarre segment in Anaheim. Back to AEW, and CM Punk is out with an injury, which is set to keep him on the shelf for 6 to 8 months, but the former world champion is also serving a suspension. Punk may be one of AEW's biggest stars, but his actions after All Out have been condemned by almost everyone, but Tony Khan may have no choice but to bring him back. On his podcast, Jim Cornette addressed the possibility of Khan bringing Punk back sooner than expected, especially with AEW wanting to score the best deal with Warner Bros. Discovery. Depending on how their business is doing, CM Punk might need to be back on TV sooner than later, because they're going to do the negotiations, which are going to start any old time now, the initial part with a new TV deal in the next year and a half. My God, Tony Khan can't be in negotiations for a new rights deal when he's putting on main events that lose 350,000 fucking viewers from the start of the program. That means he needs to rely on people that can draw ratings on television, and that one so far has been Punk. Punk does spike the ratings when he's on TV, but data has shown that he isn't the consistent draw some believe he is. Tony Khan wants what's best for his company, and what's best in the long term is a lucrative deal brought on by impressive viewing figures, and if CM Punk can get him those figures, then the suspended former world champ may not be suspended for much longer. When Robert Roode joined WWE in 2016, he received a huge push upon his arrival, becoming the NXT champion and later the US champion after being called to the main roster. A former Raw and Smackdown tag champion, fans have only seen Roode perform sporadically over the last couple of years, with his last in-ring match being in June this year. Speaking to Sportskeeda's The Wrestling Outlaws, EC3 gave his views on his fellow former Impact World Champion, suggesting that Roode could be hurt or out with a prolonged injury. EC3 also had praise for Roode, calling him handsome as hell and that he is a gentleman who's great to talk to. WWE haven't confirmed any reports of Roode being injured, so the fans of the Glorious One will just have to keep waiting until he's back in the ring. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.